course, during a day, that is the only time that power gets generated. So what do we do for that power, excess power that we're not using during the day? That's where we go to what's called a battery backup. Deep cycle batteries are batteries that are designed to provide a longer kilowatt hour draw as opposed to a standard D-cell battery or standard car battery. So what we do is we store the energy from the solar cells into a battery bank. And at night, as there is what's called a charge controller, and there is also a power sensor. When it senses that the sunlight is going down, the solar panels are not producing enough power, then automatically it will start drawing power from the batteries. So that is the way you can literally have an off-grid home. And an off-grid home is defined as a system that has solar cells, or when we're talking about solar panels with battery backup. That type of home does not need to be connected to any power source. It will, assuming you have LED lights, assuming you have high-efficiency air conditioning and heating elements, then that will be enough to power your home, and you will not pay a bill to anyone. And this is something that we want in our nation. Now the pricing, how do we get over the pricing? If and when our solar technology sector grows, our nation must be a manufacturer of solar panels. We must figure out new ways to manufacture panels so that they come down in price. Right now, it is prohibitively expensive. A 6-kilowatt system on a home today will cost you about $30,000. $30,000 is a lot of money. And if you look at the cost scenario, if you're paying $200 a month for power, and I'm using a high number, that's $2,400 a year. That's $24,000 for 10 years, almost 30-something thousand for 15 years. It would take you 15 years just to get back the money on a 6-kilowatt system. Now, that's on a high bill. In some places, it can take longer. In other places, it can be shorter. But if we can develop solar technology in which the price of a 6-kilowatt system can be, say, for instance, $10,000 to $6,000 to $10,000, then you are very cost competitive, and it makes sense to put them on pretty much every home because the payback will be about a 5-year payback. Now, what type of technology is out there? There are called amorphous thin cell solar cells, which are very good, and it's pretty. The efficiency is increasing. And then you have what you pretty much remember as solar cells that you would find on the space shuttle or satellites, the Mars rover, the crystalline solar cells. So with new techniques in our nation, with our government backing companies that want to develop new solar technologies, it's not only a benefit to our country, but it is a tremendous benefit to the rest of Africa. Imagine our African-American nation being able to ship solar panels at a very cheap price, cost competitive, so that, for instance, in the country of Malawi, imagine if we could help them, instead of having 5% of the people using electricity, we can help them become 50, 60, 75%, 80, 90% of the people using electricity. So that is extremely important. So solar cells, solar technology is best used for the residential. When we start talking about communities, supplemental power for a community development, then you need to start to look at wind turbines. Wind turbines are variable, i.e., it is not consistent in how much power they generate because it is a function of wind speed. But many of the new wind turbines can produce a megawatt an hour, 2, 3, even 4 or 5 megawatts an hour. That's a tremendous amount of electricity. So in the scenario that we talked about a home, a wind turbine rotating and producing 1 megawatt of power in an hour essentially has provided enough power for one home for an entire month. So in 24 hours, that's 24 homes for an entire month based off of the U.S. consumption. And then in a month's time, that is almost about 600 homes that one turbine can produce enough power. And we're using a 1 megawatt. I'm using a conservative estimate. A 1 megawatt wind turbine can essentially power up almost 600 homes with a clean, renewable resource. But when we look at the con of it, it is a function of wind. When we also look at it from a national security perspective, a wind turbine is a pretty easy target to hit. And a wind turbine can easily be taken out. However, there's no doubt about it, it is a great resource of power, and the wind turbine technology is improved, and making wind turbines in our country should be a component of our nation's development. From large wind turbines down to micro turbines that can be used to supplement power for homes or to set up power in remote locations. A wind turbine is excellent to do that in remote locations, along with the solar system. Because remote locations, it's very difficult to bring in batteries. Batteries are just very, very heavy. But solar, along with the wind turbine, can really provide a lot of bang for the buck and provide a stable power source for the needs of many different devices that we are currently using. Not the last one, but the next step to look at a green power source, which without question is one of the most stable and provides a tremendous amount of power, is nuclear technology. We at the IAAC are true proponents and believe in nuclear technology and nuclear power. The current power designs that are out there, the current reactor designs in the 21st century are extremely safe, well done, and allow on-site storage. So there's no worrying about taking fuel, spent fuel, and having to dump it into the ground someplace or worrying about transporting it. It can be stored on-site. There are many different designs, in fact, from large power plants to micro plants. And we've been investigating and looking at micro-nuclear technology, which we feel is a very good system. Some of these micro-nuclear power plants, as I said in the example of the 1 megawatt wind turbine that can provide power for 600 homes, one micro-nuclear power plant will provide enough power for 20,000 homes. Nuclear fuel and nuclear reactions, based off of the laws of nature, is a process that is absolutely stable. And having a micronuclear power plant will also be able to provide enough power for our industrial complex. The areas in which we are going to zone off for factories, for manufacturing, for car manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, those type of industries, companies cannot invest if they don't have access to a good, stable source of power.